Entertainment presents
a White Snoop production.
And good evening, folks. Welcome to the White Snoop and T-Rose Show. I am the White Snoop, and this is my partner T-Rose. And on our show, of course, it's going to be mostly focused on NBA and basketball and whatever else we feel like talking about. But for today, we're going to be talking about the NBA. We're going to talk about off-season moves, season preview, and I guess we should start where it started back in 1946. So. Back in 1946, obviously the NBA was inaugurated, and
or we can talk about what's going on right now, like the defending champs, the Miami Heat, LeBron getting his first ring.
I guess we could talk about that too. So what do you think about this new Miami Heat team? I mean, let's be honest, they do have Rashard Lewis.
Yeah, Rashard Lewis, big pickup right there. Money, Rashard Lewis, championship. The Ray Allen guy's pretty good. He's okay.
Yeah, Ray Allen's pretty solid too. Nice solid pickup.
He's all right. Not bad.
So, obviously the Miami Heat are going to be back in the championship race. Tough to knock off by any of the Eastern Conference teams, especially with their interior defense by Joel Anthony.
Yeah, Joel.
Shout out
to Joel Anthony.
Of course, on a serious note, the big three obviously starting to get it together. LeBron James, MVP last season. Dwayne Wade played well. Chris Bosh, besides obviously his time out with that injury during the playoffs, came back a huge part of how they won.
To me, Miami, it's the same thing. It's health. We got to see how D Wade's going to come back from the surgery. If there's any lingering effects from the Bosh injury, but they'll the top of the Eastern Conference again. I see.
Absolutely, definitely back in the playoffs, fully healthy, contender for championship. Now, obviously not a contender for a championship in the same division. The Orlando Magic, who recently lost Dwight Howard for, Aaron Aflalo and Al Harrington.
I think the two chairs we're sitting in were part of that deal as well. I think. It's going to be tough in Orlando, but they are a big market. It is Orlando, so I think once they clear a lot of their bad contracts, I do think they'll be able to bring in good players there eventually. They're going to be bad for, I think it's a 3-year project with them before they're even in playoff talks, never mind title contention.
Hopefully they get to draft another center first overall for the Lakers.
Oh yeah, because that worked out, because it's worked out so well for the Lakers.
Also in the division, of course, the Atlanta Hawks obviously made a lot of big moves. They cleared away the big contracts from Joe Johnson and Marvin Williams. They also lost some talent.
So anyway, Atlanta. I mean, I believe this is Josh Smith's contract year.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious to see what's going to go on with that. I mean, they will have a lot of cap space. So it's. I mean, and it is Atlanta. So we'll have to see what they do.
They do have a couple nice pieces. Obviously, Josh Smith, although he's in his contract year. I mean, they do have Al Horford as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see them get a center so we can see Al Horford play
the 4
actual position, and
that would move Josh Smith
to the 3. But who knows? But they do have tons of cap space, so I mean, I don't know if you want to really get into free agents, but there's a pretty good point guard by the name of Chris Paul who will possibly be a free agent this summer.
We're going to be discussing him a lot later in the show.
Definitely talk about him way later.
Also, the Charlotte Bobcats are going to be in that division.
We're really going to talk about the Bobcats?
They are a team in the NBA.
Okay. Sure thing. Charlotte Bobcats. Go Bobcats. How many games they won last year?
Was that 16, I think?
Okay, so maybe they'll get 20 this year. Maybe
with the extra 16 games, that can help them.
Or hurt them. but they do have Tyrese Thomas on their team, so they're all set.
That is true. I actually believe that Michael Jordan would probably do more for the team on the court than he does in the office.
Yeah, the Bobcats, I mean, they're another mess. They're a team, I mean, I'm a draft guy. They really needed to win the draft lottery. I mean, there aren't too many cases where you can say a team getting the second overall pick is not good for them. But they really needed to win the draft lottery, draft Anthony Davis, and get a star player of that magnitude. I mean, I like the kid. I like Kid Gilchrist, but I don't know how good he's going to be in the league, and I don't know if he's going to be able to come in and turn that franchise around right away. It's gonna take it with him.
It's like a 10-year process there.
Go Bobcats.
Good luck, NJ.
They picked up Brendan Haywood too. Don't forget about Brendan Haywood.
I like Brendan Haywood.
I do.
Poor
too.
guy. And so I guess moving on, we spent way too much time on the podcast.
Sorry about that. Sorry, we apologize.
Bobcat fans are going to hate us right now. Like,
I don't know that many.
All two of them.
Yeah, all two of them. All right.
Yeah, so Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan doesn't like us right now.
It's all right.
But so I guess moving on, the Washington Wizards obviously the final team in that division.
The Wizards, they're an interesting one. I mean, they traded. They're trying to. You can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to change the culture over there. They traded out a lot of the knuckleheads, so to speak. You know, Blotch is gone. They traded my boy JaVale McGee. So now, I mean, to me, it's make or break for John Wall. It's all the hype coming out of college. We haven't seen it yet translate to the league. But they do have decent veteran leadership there now. I think the kid Bradley Beal they drafted is going to be a good player in the league. The kid can shoot the lights out. Good player. He's a scorer. But, you know, John Wall, and, I mean, they have, you know, decent veteran leadership. They bring in Emeka Okafor, who, you know, he's – and Trevor Ariza. So that there's some decent veteran leadership there. But it's a lot of question marks to me. I mean, the kid Vesley they drafted a couple years ago supposed to be really good. Haven't seen it. I haven't seen him do anything over here yet. So there's a lot of question marks over there. I don't even know who their coach is right now. Which, sorry to the Wizards fans out there. My apologies for that. Yeah. But
we probably won't be seeing them play past mid-April.
No.
But obviously they got some young, exciting pieces. Hopefully that they could be building towards their future.
They'll be in the lottery again next year.
Hopefully they can get something good. So I guess we'd move on to the next division. We'll talk about the Boston Celtics, who obviously were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, even in spite of a lot of injury issues. We talked about Ray Allen quickly earlier. Obviously, the Celtics are going to be missing him, although they bring in Jason Terry, who will be a nice piece. Something they can finally bring off their bench who can handle the ball, which will be nice because Rajon Rondo's had to pick up so many minutes, you know, not having the luxury of being able to have a rest. Obviously, Kevin Garnett's going to have to do some teaching to the two new rookies, Fab Melo, Jared Soldier, Paul Pierce, of course. He says he's healthy, ready for the season, so that's going to be really big for them. They have some nice depth and a lot of nice pieces. Obviously, a playoff team.
Oh, definitely. The Celtics, when healthy, I think they may have one of the deeper squads in the league. When they get Avery Bradley back, good luck scoring on that backcourt. The only things, I think Jared Sullinger is going to be a stud in the league. It may take a year or two. I see him being like an Elton Brand type player.
Hopefully Kevin Garnett can be a part of that.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping. Fab Melo, he's young, he's raw, but he is 7 feet tall. Can't teach 7 feet. Courtney Lee is another guy. I don't know if you mentioned Courtney Lee.
I didn't mention him, but he's solid.
Courtney Lee is a good one. I mean, Courtney Lee started for a team that went to the finals. People forget that. He's a solid player. And they have the best coach in the game in Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers is a phenomenal coach, huge part of their success.
Best coach in the game. Sorry to anyone that...
Bold statement.
Yeah, to me, Doc Rivers is the best coach in the game.
I can see that.
And they have one of the better point guards in the league, probably one of the better team floor generals in the league, and Rajon Rondo. You know what you're getting from him every night. So to me, the Celtics, I think they'll be just like they were this past year, though. They won't get a high seed because Doc, he cruises toward the end of the year. They get into the playoffs and then they turn it on. And if they're fully healthy, watch out because their depth is going to be scary. They bring back Jeff Green too from his heart ailment. Who, I mean, a couple years ago in OKC, Jeff Green averaged 17 and 10. Darko? Did you?
They had a Darko, and they had Brandon Bass still coming back to the front court.
Well, you know how much I like Brandon Bass. That guy can start on my team today. Like I've always been a Brandon Bass guy. I mean, when he was in Orlando and they weren't giving me a run, I flipped out. They put him on the court. Brandon Bass, solid player, starting one of the more undervalued guys in the league.
Definitely agreed. So, Boston Celtics, obviously, chance to make the Eastern Conference Finals this year if they can stay healthy. Probably the top team in the East to even top the Heat, if possible.
I think so. Definitely.
With their depth, their ability up front, and obviously Rajon Rondo. I love Rajon Rondo. If he was able to develop a jump shot, he could definitely take over the league.
Yeah, no, I agree. In coaching, coaching is huge. I mean,
Doc Rivers.
What Doc gets out of that team, it blows my mind. Like last year, there are just times I'm just like, how are they doing this? And then you just look at the sidelines. Doc is a phenomenal coach.
Now we go from Boston Celtics. Obviously, now we have to talk about the New York Knicks. You already know what I think about the Knicks. Very talented team. I mean, a lot of great players. I mean, obviously, Carmelo Anthony, best scorer in the game today. Amari Stoudemire, top scoring forward. They just brought in future Hall of Famer Jason Kidd. I mean, Raymond Felton they brought back, who was very big for them in their success when they first brought over Amari Stoudemire. I mean, they have Tyson Chandler, top defensive center in the league. I mean, he was part of that championship team along with Jason Kidd in Dallas. And they have some pieces on their bench. Steve Novak is obviously a top shooter in the league. J.R. Smith, he could be a good scorer, as long as he keeps his head on straight. And they have some nice veterans coming off their bench in the front court, and Rasheed Wallace, Marcus Camby, and Kurt. I know it's funny because, they have a combined age of 120, but the fact is they've all had solid careers, and hopefully, along with Jason Kidd, they can get the mindset right and maybe play some defense this year and build up that team chemistry. The Knicks absolutely have the potential to be the best team in the NBA. The unfortunate side is that the Knicks that we've seen, we're not going to see that. And they honestly wouldn't surprise me to miss the playoffs with health and lack of chemistry.
Well, I don't think they'll miss the playoffs. I mean, to me, the New York Knicks, first thing I think, whenever I think of the Knicks, I find myself asking a lot of questions. Who's their two guard going to be? Who's their starting two guard? Who is
Ronnie Brewer.
Ronnie Brewer. Exactly.
Well, until Amon Shumpert comes back.
Yeah, but okay. There's the chemistry thing. What are you getting out of Amari? What is Amari's mindset? Is this when Amari finally realizes that he's not the A scorer anymore? Or is he still going to be looking to get his 20 to 30 shots a game? If him and Melo think each of them could take 25 shots a night, maybe you're right. Maybe they won't make the playoffs. I think I told you a couple weeks ago, I think a decent average to say I see Amari maybe getting 18 and 6 for them tonight. I don't know. You know what you're getting out of Melo. You like you said. You say the Knicks have the potential to be the best team in the NBA. I think Melo has the potential to be the best player in the NBA.
As long as he had a defense to his game.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, being the best scorer. If he was able to become even a C or B defender, if that level defender of just at least. Maybe he's not a defensive stopper, but maybe at least become a problem on the defensive end. He has all the tools. I mean, he's athletic, he's big, strong.
I would not want Mike Woodson's job right now. That's all I'm going to say.
No, and I don't think Mike Woodson's going to have it for long.
Yeah, I don't really. I don't see a scenario where Mike Woodson would go anywhere, because who would they bring in? I can't. And if you say Phil Jackson, I'll slap you out of that seat. So don't.
I would never say.
No, I know, but you know.
I was thinking about being funny and saying Jeff Van Gundy.
Okay, I think he's very comfortable with his broadcast seat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But
although his brother Stan might be nice for them. Not that I think that he would go. Any smart time coach, I don't think would want that job.
Yeah, because it's that job. It's a nightmare, and there's just a lot of questions. You have a lot of question marks. Wow. and I forgot the other question. Who's the starting point guard going to be? Because we've heard differing opinions on this. You think it should be Jason Kidd. I believe it should be Raymond Felton. If Raymond Felton is in shape, because we all know last year he showed up, he was out of shape in Portland. If he comes in shape, ready to go, I think it's a no-brainer who their starting point guard should be.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people who don't think Raymond Felton's that good. I think Raymond Felton could be a solid starter in the NBA. He's not going to blow you away. He's not getting you 20 a night, but he's not going to blow you away, but he's not going to kill your squad either. And so I would go with Felton. Nothing against Jason Kidd. I just think at this stage of his career, he'd be better. He'd be more suited to maybe close games, and maybe toward the end of the game, he can be that floor guy that kind of settles the game down. But the only problem I have with Jason Kidd is if they're playing against a team that has a point guard that can dribble. I just don't see Jason Kidd guarding anybody at this stage of his career. I'm not saying Felton's a stud on defense, but he can at least stay with some of the quicker, better point guards, and that's why I think like I said, I wouldn't mind Kidd closing games, because if you leave him open, he can knock down the shot, but also we know he can't shoot off the dribble. At least Felton, when he needs to, he can create a decent shot for himself. Where if you play the Knicks right and you put the ball in Jay Kidd's hands and you make him create off the dribble, it's not going to be pretty. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions there. Another thing I was going to say is Ronnie Brewer defensively. I like him defensively, but if he's your starting, I don't like him as your starter though. I just don't like him as a starting player.
And that's why it's going to be huge for them when they bring back Iman Shumpert. But on the point guard thing, I mean, and it's something against Raymond Felton either. I mean, I like Raymond Felton, and I agree with everything you say about him. The reason why I like Jay Kidd is I like Jay Kidd's chemistry. I like Jay Kidd working with Melo. I feel like Melo is the star. I love Amari, but I feel like he's number 2 to Melo.
Yes, he is.
It's Melo first, and I feel like Jay Kidd meshes with him better. I like the fact that Jay Kidd could catch and shoot a 3. I also like that Jay Kidd works better off the ball, because obviously Melo's going to want the ball in his hands more. I feel like they're going to go more in that direction, and then you can kind of have Melo and Jay Kidd sit down. You could bring in Felton. Felton could kind of get guys like Novak started, and he could do the pick and roll and the pick and pops with Amari. I feel like Felton's kind of Amari's point guard, and Jay Kidd is Melo's point guard.
You make a fair point, but I also you bring up the Novak factor. But I think Novak would be better on the court with Jason Kidd, because Jason Kidd will dish to Novak, because we all know Novak, all he can do is catch and shoot.
Yeah, that is true.
So, I mean, but as far as but all the veteran bigs that they just brought in, I love Rasheed Wallace, but
I hope they help in the locker room.
What does Sheed have left? What does he have left in the tank at this? I mean,
hopefully 10 minutes a game.
Yeah,
it's really all they need out of those 3 guys.
Like
Thomas and
Rasheed. Like I said to you, I think between the 3 of those guys, if they can get 20 to 25 minutes a night between the 3 of those guys, they're in good shape. But one injury could kill them.
I think the worst injury that can kill them would be to somebody in front of them.
Yeah.
Which would increase their minutes and give them a higher likelihood for injury, which would completely destroy the depth if 2 or 3 of them were to go down, obviously.
The only thing is, if she can still shoot the ball, which I don't know.
We haven't seen play in a couple years.
Yeah, because that was always one of Sheed's strong suits, when he developed that long-range shot, and when he was actually knocking it down. He can spread the floor a little bit. He was always good defensively, but we're talking 3-4 years ago, so I don't know. Well, there's a lot of question marks there. To me,
a lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks.
Speaking of question marks in New York, obviously we have the new team in the city. We have the Brooklyn Nets that just moved for New Jersey.
To me, with Brooklyn, there really aren't a lot of questions. I look at their squad. I remember I saw someone on ESPN thinks they may have the best roster in the league, 1 through 10, as far as their starters and their backups. Now, that doesn't mean that. Now, I'm not saying they're the best team. Slow down, everybody. Slow down. But when you really look at that roster and the whole Dwight thing falling apart on them, and them going for Plan B, which would be Joe Johnson, they do have 2 guys at every spot that they can put on the court, which a lot of teams don't have. You have who's the point guard they have backing up Williams?
Honestly,
I think they brought C.J. Watson backing up Darren Williams
from Chicago.
This kid Marshawn Brooks at Providence. I don't know if anyone's seen this kid play. This kid's a scorer,
and he's going to be obviously behind Joe Johnson.
He's going to be behind Joe Johnson. You have Gerald Wallace, and behind him you have Andre Blatch.
Well, Blatch would be behind Humphreys.
Yeah, but they also have Reggie Evans. So they're going to be heavy up front too. And so they have a lot of, to me, there's a lot of depth there. They signed someone else too.
So they have a lot of talent and depth. Oh, you're thinking of Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse would be behind Gerald Wallace.
Wow. That's not who I was thinking of, but that's
who they have.
Gerald Wallace. No, there's someone else. There's someone I'm not thinking of right now. And listen, we can make fun of Avery Johnson all we want. I think Avery Johnson's a good coach.
Agreed.
I think he got a raw deal in Dallas. All those guys, they kind of got hammered out of town. But the guy did win Coach of the Year, even though when you win Coach of the Year, you get fired the next year. So, but
that's pretty rough.
Yeah, but I think he does. I think Avery Johnson's a good coach. I see them in the playoffs. I see Brooklyn in there.
I think they're definitely in the playoffs. I think my more question mark is, as much talent as they have, is what are they going to do with it? And I think that's to where they can be the third seed, kind of at the top, or they can go down to 6. I think they'll be somewhere in that range.
I was going to say I see them as like a 5-6 seed. I personally don't see them anything higher than that. I mean, Darren Williams, to me, I look Darren Williams. He stuck it out.
Good for him, man.
They brought in some talent, and I think if he can get the best out of what he has there, I think they're going to be a good squad.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm gonna call it the Carlos Boozer factor, because we all know how I feel about Carlos Boozer. Carlos Boozer in Utah is unbelievable. He's in Chicago with a different kind of point guard who we'll talk about later on.
Absolutely.
And Boozer sometimes looks like he's never played basketball a day of his life. So I think if he can do that, and I know we all make fun of Brook Lopez, I do too. It's like you're 7 feet tall, you average 3 boards a game, but he did average 20. He did average 20 a night last year. So I think if he stays healthy, he'll be a solid player as well.
He has to pick up on the rebounding.
Yeah. There's no excuse
or they're going to get killed on boards.
There's no excuse for that.
Obviously, Chris Humphries was nice for them last year.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, because Chris, don't even get me started with that. We'll pick that we'll save that for another show. To me, Chris Humphries last year. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, what did he average? 9 or 10 boards a game last year, playing with Brook Lopez. So maybe that's a formula that works for them. Maybe if Humphries can handle the rebounding load. And Brook Lopez takes all the scoring, even though there were a couple nights where Humphries had a couple 20 and 10 games, and then people were trying to tell me how good he was. Slow down.
I think it's because he's married to the Kardashian. He gets a little bit of hype.
Well, we'll see where the hype comes from this year. But and like I said, Gerald Wallace, they call him Crash for a reason. I think he just has to stay healthy. He's had health issues his entire career. Obviously, the style of play, just you're asking to get injured, but he's going to be good. He's a scrappy defender. He will rebound as well. Gerald Wallace will rebound the ball for you. And
the guys off the bench are all solid rebounders. They just have to make sure that as a team that they don't get outboarded like crazy night in and night out.
And I'm going to say this right now. If I see Reggie Evans flopping over the screen, I'm turning the TV off. I'm not watching. It's embarrassing.
But I do want to shout out to Brooklyn. I don't know if you saw the new jerseys released.
No, I have not seen the jerseys yet. So
when you get home,
I might. I'll have them next summer. I'm gonna have to put in for mine.
Yeah, they've been released and they definitely look good. Obviously, you've seen the new logo. Yeah. I like it. I like where you're going.
And and for the record, the owner Prokhorov is still saying they can win the title within the next 5 years, which I think is.
I even saw one statement that said he said 3.
Yeah, I see, but 3 to 5, whatever.
I give him a lot of credit.
So on that note, I think we should move on to our next team.
Yeah. I like that he's willing to spend the money and he's bold. I like that. So
yeah, well, that's why they bought him in there. I will say that's what they bought him here for.
Now we're talking about a strong division, obviously, because we're talking about another playoff team next, the Philadelphia 76ers. A lot of question marks, obviously, just like in years past.
Well, to me, there's not. Well, the question mark with Philly is.
Let's first knock out the one that's not a question mark, and that's the coach. Doug Collins has done a phenomenal job with this team over the last couple of years.
Great job.
I mean, overachieved every season so far since Doug Collins has come.
Great job.
Obviously, their biggest question mark that they've had over the last couple of years is still an outside shooter. I feel like they still haven't addressed that.
Yeah, and it's actually funny because to me, the one guy in their team that I actually thought could shoot was Jody Meeks. They let him go. He ended up going to the Lakers, who we'll talk about later on. But not even who their outside shooter is going to be is. I always thought Philly's biggest problem was they didn't have a number one scoring option. So now you go bring one in. You bring in Bynum, but now
who also cancels out the problem of that they had no interior scoring either.
Yes.
And Bynum kind of cancels both of those. I mean, they have a number one scorer who can average 20 a game, and he gets it all from the inside.
But now who's the secondary scorer going to come from? Now, to me, this Iggy. They traded Iggy. Iguodala's out of there. This has to be Evan Turner's come out year. He had a couple of games last year where you maybe saw it. To me, when I saw Evan Turner at Ohio State, I thought this kid was going to be a great, I won't say great, but a solid NBA player. He can play three positions on the court. In college, he guarded three positions on the court. He's 6'8". He can shoot the ball. So to me, this year, this has to be his coming out party for them to have the same success that they had last year. Drew Holiday is going to continue to get better. To me, I'm a draft guy. The 20 teams that decided not to draft Drew Holiday, I don't understand it. He's 6'5", he's long, he can defend. His offensive game is coming along, and coming off their bench, they do have they don't have Lou Williams anymore, do they? He left.
I believe he's not with them anymore.
No, he did leave. They let him leave because I was going to say if they had him coming off the bench, they would.
They have good talent. They're probably going to be in the playoffs as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah,
kind of put it together.
Would they get the 7th seed last year?
I think they're going to be somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think they'll be in the same place. They'll be in the same place they were.
They've kind of gone up and down a little bit. And Doug Collins, I mean, like I said before, they've really overachieved under him. And I think if you put a different coach in there's a chance they'll make the playoffs. And I think that he's going to make sure they do.
The other thing is Andrew Bynum. Is he going to come every night ready to play? I personally think he does. It's his contract year, and if he wants to get paid, he's going to come. He's going to ball every night. If he can stay healthy the way he did last year and forget all this childish nonsense, shooting the threes, bickering with the coach, he can easily have a 20-10 year.
And he's got a great coach to work with.
And there's no excuses. There's no excuses with him now either. The ball, he's the guy. He is the guy. There's no excuses. So we'll see what happens there. So I don't know if you have anything to add to the Andrew Bynum factor, but Evan Turner.
I'll just add that I agree with you about that, and Evan Turner.
Evan Turner is going to be key.
Evan Turner and Andrew Bynum are the biggest X factors for this team moving forward. And then obviously to see what management does as far as bringing in other pieces, because obviously they're not winning a championship as is. Now, obviously, we talk about young pieces. We'll be moving forward to the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, the only team in the Atlantic Division that may or may not make the playoffs. Obviously, if they do make it, we could possibly see all 5 teams in the Atlantic Division make the playoffs, which would be pretty crazy. Obviously, there's always a chance they don't make it. And they're in a tough division. There's probably a good chance they're going to be last in their division, even though they do have a solid young core with Jonas Valanciunas coming over. If you want to attempt to say his name, good luck. Obviously, they bring Andrea Bargnani back. Hopefully, him and Jose Calderon will be able to stay healthy. And obviously, Calderon finally has a partner sharing the point guard position in Kyle Lowry. DeMar DeRozan hopefully have further developed his game. And, obviously, they have a lot of other young pieces. Terrence Ross, obviously, was their draft pick this past year.
Yeah, Toronto. No, they have a lot of young. They do have a lot of young, intriguing pieces over there. I mean, they drafted the kid Ed Davis from North Carolina a couple years ago, who hasn't really panned out to the player they thought he'd be when they drafted him. So I kind of feel for them on that. I like the kid Terrence Ross, but you were watching the draft with me. You have to take Austin Rivers there. You have to. There's just, I don't know what else to say. You have to take Austin Rivers. I like Terrence Ross, and nothing against the kid, but Austin Rivers is going to come to your team and play, and he's going to score at the NBA level. He can create his own shot, and a lot of guys can't do that in this league. So when we were watching the draft that night and they passed on Rivers, that was one of my what are you thinking moments of the draft. But there's potential there. I like Bargnani as a 4 better than a 5.
Which he'll be playing this year with Jonas.
Which you have with Jonas there.
Valanciunas.
And It's funny. They say this kid's going to be really good. They've been doing a good job of keeping it kind of on the low though, because I haven't really seen that much. Usually when the guys are over there playing, you usually hear about them and you see in the film. I haven't really seen any of the film, and and a lot of his draft day stuff. There's a lot of question marks and a lot of potential stuff there. So I'm actually anxious to see this kid play. I want to see if he can play because he was drafted 4th overall.
No, he was 5th.
5th, yeah. So I want to see if this kid can play. I really do. So I don't know.
You want to say his name once?
No, I'm not even gonna try. The tall guy.
The tall guy that they drafted.
The tall guy.
Yeah. I guess we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's pretty much it on that team. I guess we move on to the last and final division. We'll start with the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, there's a huge question mark, and his name is Derrick Rose. And the question is when or if he returns this season. I mean, there's different reports that say he'll be back January, February, or that he may miss the whole season. I mean, obviously, without him, they're a mediocre team, possibly a low-C playoff team.
Possibly. Chicago, you got to feel bad for him. You got to. I mean, you a year ago you top record in the Eastern Conference, and then you have the lockout. They come back. He's hurt. Is he healthy? He's hurt. He's back. And then the worst possible scenario, him tearing his ACL in the playoffs. I mean, listen, you can hate on Derrick Rose all you want. He takes too many shots. Derrick Rose is a premier talent in the league.
Top 3 point guard, easily.
And when on the court, he's probably a top 10 player. Maybe even top 5 if you want to stretch it. If you want to stretch. And a lot of people were saying that he didn't deserve that MVP he got a couple years ago. Which, I mean, let's face it. I mean, he was. I mean, we all saw how good they were in the playoffs when he wasn't there, obviously. So, and we're really going to find out how good he is this year when he's not there. Yeah. I'm gonna call that the Peyton Manning factor. That's what I'm gonna call that.
I mean, I feel like they're gonna have an okay record. I mean, until or if Derrick Rose even returns. I mean, they still have some nice pieces. Obviously, Joakim Noah. Your guy, Carlos Boozer. I know your favorite player is Luol Deng.
I don't have anything against Luol Deng, but I mean, where's the offense going to come from? I mean,
obviously that was Derrick Rose's job.
Yeah. So now all those.
Tom Thibodeau is going to have these guys playing defense, which is going to win them some games.
Yeah. I think they're gonna be that team. They're going to want low scoring games, a slow down pace. They're not going to want to do the up and down. They're not going to, they're going to have a lot of low scoring games because that's how they're going to win. Because I don't see any guy. We don't have it in front of it. I don't see one guy in that roster that can get 20. That can get you 20 a night consistently. Yeah. I mean, I love Noah, but let's be realistic here. I mean, 10 and 10, 10 and 12, 4 or 5 blocks. He's gonna hustle. But
gotta love him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Boozer. What are you going to get from him?
Without Derrick Rose, maybe 15 and 7.
I mean,
maybe.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Bulls is.
I mean, Luol Deng is probably their best player right now.
Yeah.
Without Derrick Rose, I mean Rip Hamilton. He's probably the best creator on that team besides Derrick Rose. I mean, they're going to be relying on him a lot. And at this stage of the career, obviously, he's not the same guy that won the ring.
Who's their point guard? Well,
obviously, they drafted Marquise Teague.
Yeah, but he's not going to be ready to play from day one. He can't play right. I don't think he's ready to
Kirk
play
Heinrich.
Oh yeah, they did bring him back, and I've always liked Heinrich, but he's been hurt a lot, so I don't know what his.
It's obviously a question.
Yeah, I don't know what his physical.
Derrick Rose comes back, and he's the Derrick Rose we saw last year. I think they could be middle of the pack playoff. Without Derrick Rose, they're low seed if they make it.
Now, do you see a scenario where maybe they're not going to make the playoffs? Do you think they just tell him not to come back?
I think it might be a smart idea. A lot of what I've read about his injury is the severity of not just the short-term damage, obviously, that he's dealing with now, but the long-term health. There's obviously people that have spoken out and said that he should sit the whole season. If they're going to get a lottery pick and maybe possibly draft some more help, it may not be the worst thing if they get to draft 8th to sit out 1 year in the playoffs, because obviously they're a top contending team, maybe with a little more talent, and they move forward next year, they can be right back in that title mix. That's kind of my thought.
I agreed. I've been reading that a lot too, so I just figured I would ask that.
So I guess moving forward, we'll talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Another team, got a lot of pieces, young talent. They now have Monte Ellis brought over. They've kind of always been in that playoff mix the last couple of years, although just missing it. I think they definitely have a great chance to make it this year. Obviously, they're going to be competing with teams like Toronto and Atlanta, Chicago, even if Derrick Rose doesn't come back. I think they have a great possibility to be a low playoff seed.
Yeah, my problem with Milwaukee is that backcourt's going to score a lot of points, but they're going to give up a lot of points as well. And are there enough shots to go around between the two of them? Because Brendan Jennings, he likes to throw it up there, and we all know Monte likes to throw it up there. There's only so many shots I can go around, and those two guys, they're not exactly the greatest of defenders, and they're both smaller guards. I mean, I think Monte's 6'2", 6'3", and Jennings is
about the same, 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, Jennings he's 6 feet tall. I don't think he might. Yeah. So it's the only thing that worries me about them. They have a hard nose. I like their coach.
Scott.
I like style. Hard nose, and they have that guy that I can't say his name. You Ersan
Ilyasova. Yeah. I like Ersan Ilyasova. Obviously, he was in the contention for most improved player that Ryan Anderson won. I mean, I agree that backcourt is going to be phenomenal on the offensive end. I actually think that they blend. I think they're gonna play really well together, but they're also going to not defend well together. And as much as they'll probably average a combined like 50 points, but they'll also give up 50 points, which against obviously top backcourts, it'll depend who they're against. I guess against the Knicks they may not give up 50, but when the backcourt is Joe Johnson and Darren Williams, they're going to have a field day.
That's a tough matchup for them. Backcourt with length, height, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to just have to outscore the other team. Now, can those two guys do that?
They're going to be doing the opposite game of the Bulls.
Who's their center?
I forget. Didn't Dallenberg go up there?
Yes. Which, you know what, I don't mind it. I like he's the right guy for their team. Dallenberg, it's all defense basically. So
hopefully you can keep him out of the paint at least.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. So
along with Ersan Ilyasova.
I'm trying to. Who's the small forward over there? Who's the small forward?
Great question.
I don't know. I can't.
I can't remember off the top of my head either.
I can't.
They had Maggette and Delfino, but I think they're both gone.
So, all right, well, we'll just,
I mean, obviously they're not going to be a top East team. They're going to be in the middle of the pack, hoping to make the playoffs finally. So, you sure you don't want to give that name one more chance?
No. I wouldn't even try that one.
Not a name guy. All right. Well, we'll talk about a team that you do know a little bit more about. We'll talk about the Pistons. Obviously, drafted Andre Drummond this year. They have Brandon Knight, Greg Monroe, some young, nice talent. They brought back Tayshaun Prince.
They have a lot of nice young talent, but this team is,
it won't be in the playoffs.
Kind of like Orlando, 3, 4, 5 years away. The kid Monroe, I'll tell you what about Greg Monroe. He surprised a lot of people, and I was a fan of his in college, but he had a lot of motor questions. There's a lot of motor questions about Greg Monroe. I didn't know how good he'd be in the NBA. The only thing I'm glad they can slide him over to the 4. And Drummond can play the 5. And the reason I say, and people tell me I'm crazy when I think Andre Drummond could start right now, is he plays defense. He might not be, he's not going to be a guy that's going to you throw the ball down into, and but he's long, he's athletic, he's young. He's going to be a presence in the paint defensively. To me, him and Dwight Howard are the same prospect when they came into the league, except Drummond got to play 1 year of college ball. But for a big guy, 1 year of college ball is nothing. So it's all up to Drummond. He has talent to be a top one of the top big men in the league down the road if he develops the way he could, if he develops the potential he has. Him next to Greg Monroe. You have Tayshaun Prince there. You have I think Brandon Knight is going to be a good player. He's going to be a solid player in the NBA. I don't like him at the point guard though. I mean, he's a smaller guard, so he may have to play point, but I'm not sure I like him at the point. They have some other young pieces. The kid Austin Day, he had a couple. He showed some signs of maybe the guy that they drafted a couple years back. Charlesville and the wave is still there, I believe. He's always been a solid player. Nice guy to come off the bench.
Now, going back to what you said about Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe, the one thing I definitely agree with you is when you have a young, developing team like this, you almost have to give the minutes to those young guys to develop. I feel like putting Andre Drummond kind of out there and letting him play against the starting centers will probably help his development. I mean, obviously, he's not going to come out the gates and be the greatest player in the NBA.
No.
But it'll give him the opportunity to develop and possibly be a top center down the line.
The night of the draft, I think I told you, somebody tweeted, Detroit was doing backflips when he fell to them. And it was probably the best case scenario for them because their front court, at least at the 4 and the 5, is set as long as he develops. So it's another project. They'll probably be in the lottery, probably where they were. I think they drafted 8th this past summer. They'll probably be there again. Maybe they get another nice solid player, but they're gonna be there. It's gonna take time there.
And obviously another young team with a nice front court, Indiana Pacers.
Very nice front court. Roy Hibbert, you got paid, so
time to make that money, bro.
All eyes are on you. I mean,
if Roy Hibbert can still go out there and do what he's done and really earn that money, Danny Granger obviously has played well for them. They made a couple moves in the off season.
Yeah.
Obviously, reliant more on George Hill at the point. They have Tyler Hansbrough and David West both at power forward. I mean, they have a lot of talent. Obviously, they were number 3 in the playoffs last year. They went to the second round. They gave Miami Heat kind of run for their money, especially when Chris Bosh went down, and they really kind of exposed the lack of front court depth that the Heat had. Indiana, I think they can be around the middle top again, like in that area, like maybe a 2 to 5 seed, and really make a statement. Obviously, they have a great possibility of coming out the first round, and depending on who they match up against, we could possibly see what they do in the second round again.
Yeah, to me, Indiana, they're kind of in the same boat as the Sixers, where the Sixers have a guy like Evan Turner who needs to have his coming out party. Well, Indiana has a guy by the name of Paul George, who I think is, me being the draft guy, him coming out, his comparison was Tracy McGrady. Now, if he could even be almost as good as Tracy McGrady was in his day, that's nice. That's nice for them because he would be their go-to scorer. Going back to Roy Hibbert, it's funny because I watch a lot of college basketball, and I remember watching Roy Hibbert play at Georgetown. And if he would have came out his junior year, he would have been the first overall pick. He waited a year, so he dropped in the draft. And people forget that. I always have to, whenever I talk about Roy Hibbert with somebody, I always have to remind them. It's like, you do know that if he would have came out his junior year, he would have been number 1 overall pick, right? So this isn't a surprise. I mean, I probably told you about it. It's going to come with Roy Hibbert. He's good. He's a good player. So I'm glad to see that it finally did come for him, and I just hope he got his money. Just keep it going. They have a good young coach there. I can't think of the guy's name, but good young coach. They play hard for him down there, and I agree. As far as I'm in the playoffs, definitely, and they could maybe second round team, and they get a good matchup, and someone on their team gets hot, they can definitely maybe even sneak into the conference finals. Maybe
they're definitely in that mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Now maybe they're not in the mix, but the last team in the division, Cleveland Cavaliers. Also, I know you're the draft guy. Kyrie Irving, who they should have never been able to draft.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about later. But, they do have him, and he's played really solid for them. Great draft. Obviously, Tristan Thompson, they drafted 4th overall. Hasn't turned out quite as great as Kyrie, but solid. They have a couple, young guys. And then, this year in the draft, they snuck and they stole Tyler Zeller, later in the first round. And then I know your favorite pick was number 4 when they drafted Deion Waiters.
Yeah, it's the second year in a row I thought they reached for a guy at number 4, and it was ironic that they had the 4th pick 2 years in a row, and I thought that they reached both years. But they say the kid Waiters could score the ball. That's what they say his niche is. So hopefully he can do that for them. Cleveland, they're gonna have to grit and bear it for a while. To me, they're in the same. They're not as far as in the same boat as Orlando, but they're gonna be in the draft lottery for at least 2, maybe even 3 more years. They're gonna have to keep drafting, bringing in guys that can play, and then you gotta hope you can keep them because
Cleveland.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's just that you see what just happened to them. You go from being at the high of the NBA to the low of the NBA, just like in a year. So you hope that you can keep the guys you bring in. You could keep a Kyrie Irving. You could, and I don't know. So I'm not a Dan Gilbert fan.
Unfortunately, with it being the city of Cleveland and Dan Gilbert being the owner, nobody is itching to get to Cleveland. They really have to develop through the draft and get a solid team.
Yeah, when they're at it's funny that you say that because when they were at their best, that's kind of what they did with with LeBron. Even though LeBron was an exceptional talent, and there won't be too many more, if anything else like him that they.
Want to know what everybody in Cleveland is thinking, but they won't say?
And what's that?
They miss LeBron.
Oh yeah, definitely. They yes, they would. Yeah,
they burn his jerseys and pull his posters down, but they wish he was still there.
If you can rewind back to 2010 when he made his announcement, they would unburn all those jerseys and hang all his posters back up. They would probably tell you different now, but I guarantee you he would still be he probably still is a hero down there for what he did for that area, that community, the years he was there.
Absolutely.
But, you look at Kyrie Irving, you say, hey, maybe Kyrie Irving could be that guy. Maybe not.
LeBron basically became a basketball star in a football state.
Yes, basically, yes.
He brought basketball to Ohio.
Yes. So, good luck to Cleveland.
That wraps up actually the entire Eastern Conference now. So that concludes our episode today about the Eastern Conference. We're going to be back soon with the Western Conference, hopefully next week. I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
No, I thought we
nailed it.
I think we nailed it. Maybe Eastern Conference. To me, the Western Conference is a little more intriguing because there's 2 very interesting storylines that obviously talk with playoff teams too that I want to get into. So looking forward definitely to talking about the Western Conference.
We're gonna have a great episode. Episode 2 coming for you. Like I said, hopefully up next week. But for now, that will conclude our first episode of the White Snoop and T-Rose Show. Again, I am the White Snoop. This is T-Rose over here. You can hit us up on Twitter. We have our Twitter handles up on the screen. Definitely message us.
Check our videos at youtube.com/WhiteSnoop44. Email us at WhiteSnoopProductions@gmail.com. Become a fan at Facebook.com/WhiteSnoop244. Or follow us on Twitter.com/44entertainment.
This has been the White Snoop Productions.
Say shout out to Dan Gilbert.